and welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. I'm Steven, along with my usual co-host Matt. How's it been going?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
I've been okay. It's been, pretty busy, which is the reason this episode is so late, comparatively.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably been more busy than me with a baby on the way, but
Baby already
yeah.
here.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I've been doing some stuff. I haven't given birth, but I gave birth to a book.
Oh,
Well,
really?
not literally. I published a book. It's called Juvenilia, a collection of short horror stories. It's 6 stories that I wrote when I was a teenager. And I found the manuscripts in the back of a cupboard like about a year ago. And I decided that I wanted to put them in a book. So I ended up typing them all up. And I did just that. I published it through Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. And yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
Nice.
I'm not looking to like make shitload of money off it. But I just wanted something as kind of like an archive for myself, really. And yeah. So I put it out. It's also on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have that, then you can read it for free on Kindle.
Oh, very nice.
Hmm.
I mean, that's 100% more publishing than I've ever done.
Oh well, it's obviously technically self-published, but Amazon do a feature where they can do print on demand for paperbacks. So they take the file that you give them, and whenever someone orders, they just print it on demand. And so yeah, I've not got like a load of stock sitting somewhere that I need to send out to people.
Right.
They will just print it and send it out themselves. But yeah, it was a labor of love. Took me a couple of months to get everything typed up, get everything on there. I've got scans of all the original manuscripts and typescripts in there as well. Yeah, I'm pleased with it.
Nice. I'll have to pick that up when I get the chance.
Yeah, it's called Juvenilia, a collection of short horror stories.
Okay.
And if you tap that into Amazon, it'll come up.
Yeah, that's definitely something to check out. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So, what games have you been playing?
I've been playing quite a lot recently. Obviously, the main one is still and always will be Guild Wars 2, as usual. They've just released a winter update, so you've got all the winter festival stuff going on at the minute, loads of stuff to do, loads of new achievements and stuff like that to get, so I've been on that quite a bit. Vampire Survivors I've been playing quite a lot because I picked it up on Switch, so I've been playing like quite a lot on Switch, like just getting that version fully unlocked, just like my PC version. But they also released a new feature called Adventures, which is kind of it's the same kind of thing, but it kind of like tells a loose kind of story, and there's each adventure has like a certain amount of characters and weapons that you can unlock that are like exclusive to that adventure. I mean, they're from the base game, but each adventure has a selection of those that aren't in like the other adventures. And I've been playing that. That isn't out on Switch yet, so I've been playing that on PC. They've just released an Among Us tie-in adventure as well, which I've not checked out yet, but that's new paid for DLC, the Among Us stuff, which is as usual for Vampire Survivors. The DLC is like $1.99. It's not expensive.
Yeah.
So I've been playing a lot of that, and I've also been working my way through TNT Evolution from Final Doom, which is quite tough. And I've always been kind of like annoyed with a lot of the level design in Final Doom, and playing through the whole thing, yeah, I'm still quite annoyed by it. But I figured, I've finished all of Doom 1 and 2. I wanted to move on to these. And yeah, it's a bit of a slog, but I'm getting there. And then after that, it will be the Plutonia experiment.
Nice. I don't even know if I've ever booted up Final Doom. I have it, but I've like, aside from what I've done for the podcast and a little bit of Doom on Switch to record footage, I have not I have not played nearly as much Doom as I probably should have, being the age that I am.
Yeah, it's still the first game still remains like my second best game of all time. But with Final Doom, you can tell that id Software didn't make those levels, and they look nice, but quite a lot of times I'm having to go on the internet and find a walkthrough for the level because I just do not know what I need to do. Like the level I did yesterday, I was wandering around for ages and ages because I couldn't figure it out. And it turns out one of the doors that I couldn't open, you have to shoot. It didn't give me any indication that I needed to do that. Generally, you don't shoot doors, but I had to shoot this door to progress. Which the levels are decent and look nice, but there's just certain elements of bad level design that kind of like will ruin one or two of the levels.
Yeah,
or more than one or two. But yeah, it's also really difficult.
Well,
but
and that's
I'm getting through it.
And it's like I don't want to knock fans that make stuff, because there's obviously been some amazing fan made content for games. I mean, there's times where fans make better stuff than the actual people, but at the same time, there are other times where there's a big difference between something a fan made and something a team of expert developers made.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't just judge this as harshly if it was just kind of like a fan release.
Right.
But it's literally a case of these developers were going to put out these 2 episodes. id Software liked them and said, okay, don't put them out. We're going to put them out. And we'll pay you for them.
Right. So once they put their name on it, it gets a little weird.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing, I think. Have I been playing anything else? No, just those ones. Oh, a hell of a lot of Solitaire, but that's just I'm always playing Solitaire.
What's funny is I mean, obviously I played a lot of Microsoft Solitaire back in the day, and I played a lot of Spider Solitaire too. But I actually played a lot of different types of Solitaire back in the day with actual cards, which is something that doesn't really happen that much anymore.
No, I used to do when I was a kid. I would play Solitaire quite a lot, but like I've just got this program now called PySol, which I do prefer the Windows version of Solitaire, but it has ads now.
Yeah.
So I just went on to this other one. It's not as good, but it doesn't have adverts, so.
Yeah, and that's still ridiculous. But it is what it is. Microsoft's going to Microsoft.
So what have you been playing?
So I actually have not only been playing Final Fantasy XIV this time, although I have played quite a lot of it. I actually I joined up with a Discord group, and they run like regular events and stuff, and they're like hey, come on this day and we'll all go run this raid series or whatever. And they actually got me started on Palace of the Dead, and I'm now furious at myself for not trying the deep dungeons before, because like this is exactly the kind of content I would have wanted. A roguelike version of Final Fantasy 14 that you not only can play by yourself, but you're practically encouraged to play by yourself.
I have tried to solo it. I think the highest I've gotten is like floor 30, something like that. I've never actually done it with a group.
I recently I did I know I got to 50 solo on both my characters. And then one of them I want to say I got to like 89 or 90 solo. Um,
Oh, nice.
it took a while. Like, I had to spend time building up my my weapons and stuff, but it like I've been playing a lot of deep dungeons. And then my character that has access to the later expansions. I went into Heaven on High and got the up to floor 30 in that. So I'm really enjoying that, and that's been taking up a lot of my Final Fantasy 14 time lately.
I've never done Heaven on High because I've never got high enough in Palace of the Dead to unlock it.
Right, because you got to get to floor 50.
Mm.
And then I can't do the new one yet because I have to finish Endwalker. But I have finished everything up to Endwalker as far as the MSQ. So
Oh, nice.
once my other character's Road to 80 drops, I can switch back over and get working on that. So slightly related to Final Fantasy 14 and Endwalker, I actually started playing Final Fantasy 4, which I started playing a few months ago and haven't been playing as much recently, mostly because I was playing on my breaks at work, and then left my job in November, so I haven't been playing as much the past month. But I was actually really enjoying it. I had tried to start it a few times, but never got very far. And like now that I've actually put the time in and gotten deep into the game, I get it. Like I understand why that one. Number one, why that one was considered good enough to send over here, but also why it's become so beloved over the years. So that's been fun. I really enjoy going back and seeing some of those older games that I never got around to.
Yeah, and 4 ties in quite heavily to Endwalker as well, so it's good to actually play through that.
Yeah, and I I know some of the big tie-in things, but I also I saw a thing that said I think it was before Endwalker released, talking about the fact that 4 ties into it. And they were saying, yeah, it's probably going to tie in quite a lot because we've had very few references to Final Fantasy IV, and the ones that we've had have been, well, weird because, like, I think the primary one up to that point was Calcabrina, and it's like,
I like that dungeon.
Oh yeah, the dungeon is great, but creepy dolls are never never a thing I'm really looking forward to.
I mean, most of the time stuff is like for the post MSQ stuff,
Yeah.
but there is still some stuff there in the main story as well.
Well, I mean, I know they've got the moon on the login screen, so
Yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you think of the expansion. It's definitely my favorite story, probably ever in video games at least.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I've been going back and looking at some of the older stuff. Like I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but I went back and did some recording for the MSQ in Realm Reborn, and I got through all of that. I went back and recorded the Binding Coils and just did that solo. And I started recording Crystal Tower and then had to stop for various reasons. But I have gone back and reviewed the all the story stuff from the patches and Crystal Tower and Binding Coils. So
and the Alphascape and Sigmascape raids also, I would recommend.
Yeah, I took care of those. I want to say like a couple of months ago, maybe.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm as prepared as I think I can be without going through the entire thing again. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see where things go.
When do you think you'll be starting it?
You know what? I'm not sure. Probably sometime in like the next month. Because my new job starts middle of January, so I'll have a little bit less time at that point. But up till then, I've still got a decent amount of time. So I'll probably at least start it sometime within the next month. But I'll be sure to let you know how that's going once I do start it.
Yeah, definitely. As UCP would say, look forward to it.
Yeah. So let's see, what else have I done? Let's see. Oh, I started playing Metroid Prime again because one of the guys on YouTube that I watch that does video essays, he got really big with a Metroid series, so he's now going back and he's revisiting some leading up to his review of Dread. And that watching all that just got me back in the mood for Metroid. So I started playing Metroid Prime to record it again, and that's going fine. It's Metroid Prime, so it's good.
The remaster or the original?
The original, the original GameCube.
Ah.
Yeah, I wanted to record the GameCube version first because I know like the first time I played it on Prime Hack, so I was playing with a more standard controller. But I know when we talked to Ryan about it, he was saying to absolutely play the GameCube version before playing the Wii version. So I want to make sure I do that, and because having played a little bit of both, I know that it's hard to go between versions. So I just want to get all of my recording done with the GameCube version before I go into the Wii version.
Yeah, I've heard that it's a similar situation to Resident Evil 4, where the Wii has like the best control method.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of like if you play that one first and then go back to the other ones, you kind of like thinking, oh no.
Yeah, I still need to try that because that might actually make Resident Evil 4 more enjoyable for me.
I would just play the remake. The remake is better.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is that. But yeah, so the other big thing I've been playing, and I actually fell off a little bit in the past couple of weeks, but I started playing Final Fantasy XI again.
All right.
And the reason I went back to it and started trying it again is because there's a YouTuber, Mr. Happy 1227.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing an event called the Vana'diel March, which is basically a big thing uh, to get people back to Final Fantasy 11 and go through the story, and basically getting people to try it out, but providing an event that it's to where you can get closer to what the game was like when it was active. So there's a Discord, and he's got a bunch of links all set up that are being distributed. And I started doing that, and I actually got like 6 or 7 hours in, but then we all got sick, and I wasn't in the headspace for putting the effort into figuring out Final Fantasy 11, because like I'm not going to say it's a bad game, but coming from 14, you do have to think about it more, and it
Yeah,
is a little more of a challenge.
it's a little bit obtuse.
And especially because I'm doing all this on the Steam Deck, so I had to jump through a little bit of hoops to get the controls working, and figure out what all I needed to do. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. I was enjoying it when I was playing it, but it is something that you almost need a guide, because back in 2002 they weren't they weren't quite as good at telegraphing exactly what you need to do as they are now. So it's a
Yeah,
fun game, but it is it does have some of its setbacks, but that's because it's a game from 2002. I mean, this is pre World of Warcraft.
yeah,
So, like, yeah, I'm not going to give the game too much crap, because it's, well before the MMO genre was in any way standardized.
yeah. And it's good that you have someone organizing like a community together to get it going. I mean, Mr. Happy is like quite a big channel as well, so
Mhm.
I'm assuming he's managed to get quite a few people interested in the game.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people. He's posted at least a couple of videos about it, and then he's been streaming it here and there. So I know I actually got my my link pearl directly from him, because I happened to find him in game while he was giving them out. But yeah, he's got the Discord set up, and there's a bunch of people in there, and it's basically just an extension of his normal Discord. So there's a bunch of people in there, and a whole bunch of people that have been through the game and have advice, and you can ask a question anytime you need help. So yeah, that's a great resource to have, especially going through an older game like this. And again, it's you're going through the game, not the way it was back then, but a lot closer than it would have been 6 months ago.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that's Mr. Happy 1227. It's the event is called the Vanadil March, which originally he was going to run it in March, and then he moved it up, um, so that now he's doing the first wave now, and then there'll be a second wave actually in March. But yeah, that's a really cool thing. I definitely recommend anyone that uh, has the ability to check that out to do it, because I mean, 11 is still a good game, and it's worth experiencing. It's just a little less user friendly than 14 is. I still think it's worth checking out.
yeah. If I had time for another MMO, then I probably would. But like, I only log into Final Fantasy 14 now for the story, so
Right.
I've definitely not got time to put another one on my plate.
Well, and once I got more engaged with some of the 14 content that I hadn't played, I haven't gone back to 11 for like a week and a half. So it's it's definitely something where I'm gonna be like in and out of there. Uh, I'm not gonna be playing it continuously the entire time, but uh, you know, pop in for a month or two, make some progress. Because I mean, the main thing for me is just going through the story and recording it if I can. Uh, just because I would like to see the story of the game that has held on for this long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I've played. Uh, and we talked earlier. We're just gonna skip the news because at this point, there's but by the time we bring something up, it has happened a couple of months ago, and anything new is outdated by the time we upload. So
Yeah. I mean, there is one very quick one I want to bring up. In 8 days' time, Bobby Kotick will no longer be with Activision.
oh yeah, there is that.
So that's good.
Which
Fuck him.
good riddance. It's a shame he gets all that money on the way out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think with that, we'll just go ahead and move along to our topic for the episode.
Okay, we'll do.
Toll robber!
So our topic this time, given that it is December, but we also forgot to do the Halloween episode. Well, forgot or we're too busy. Take your pick. Which excuse you prefer? We are actually going to do a bit of a hybrid, and to that end, it was only logical that we picked two games based on the Nightmare Before Christmas. When did that come out? Like, it was in the 90s, wasn't it? I don't remember.
93.
93. Yeah, I thought it was like early 90s. I know I hadn't seen it until like 2014, 2015. It was, years and years after it came out.
I probably around the same time that I first watched it, to be honest. But like in preparation for this podcast, I did actually rewatch it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like fresh in my mind.
Yeah. So most of my experience with The Nightmare Before Christmas is Kingdom Hearts because, like I said, I did not watch it much, if at all, growing up, and it's not really my favorite thing. I know like everyone absolutely loves that movie, and the merch and the stuff is everywhere. I'm just not that big a fan. But I think that's partially because I'm kind of over Tim Burton stylistically.
I do love his early aesthetic, like his 90s stuff, late 80s stuff. I love the aesthetic of what he does. It's all kind of like it's grim and dark, but in like a fun way. Mm-hmm. So I do really like Nightmare Before Christmas. It is probably my favorite stop motion film. Not that I've seen a lot of stop motion films, but I think in terms of that genre, I think it is the best one that I've seen.
Yeah. So like the Tim Burton movies that I actually like are primarily his Batman movies.
Yeah.
Not to like get down on anything else, but those I think are, they were definitely the best done of the 90s. And they, even though they can be a little weird and scary at times, like that aesthetic worked in those movies, kind of in a way that Tim Burton's other stuff doesn't for me for some reason. I don't know.
My personal favorite Tim Burton film is Beetlejuice, but Batman is a close second.
Yeah, like Batman Returns is one of the tapes I had as a kid, and it's probably one of the ones I've watched you know, I don't know if I've watched it the most, but I've watched it a lot.
Batman kills a lot of people in that film.
Yeah, and
he blows one up with a grenade.
Yeah, that dark. And they said the Dark Knight. They weren't kidding.
Mm.
But yeah, so I've never been the biggest fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. I can appreciate some of the aesthetic and like the Kingdom Hearts levels don't bother me except for when the music gets repetitive. But that's kind of a general Kingdom Hearts problem. But anyway, so we chose 2 games based on the Nightmare Before Christmas. The first one we're going to talk about is a game on the Game Boy Advance. It's called Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas: The Pumpkin King. And so I went into this knowing nothing about either of these games because I didn't play either of them. I've never played either of them before. So what I did not know is going into this that this one is a prequel to the movie.
Yeah, because I was confused at first because Oogie Boogie doesn't know who Jack Skellington is. So I thought, like, why doesn't he know? But yeah, it is a prequel. I still think he should know who he is, but
well, and like Jack doesn't know who Sally is. I'm like, that's weird.
But it does explain that pretty early on, though.
Yeah.
In the 20-minute cutscene before they get, well, it's not 20 minutes, but it feels like 20 minutes.
It does.
Before the game actually starts.
What's bad is the other game has the same problem. But yeah, so this one, I mean, this was it was a pretty standard GBA 2D platformer. You know, you run around, you get an attack pretty early, like within the first couple of screens, but then you get other ones later.
I didn't play far enough to get the other ones, so I stuck with the frog breath, which is the first one.
Yeah, so I got far enough to get a bat boomerang.
Oh yes, sorry, I did get the bat boomerang, and then I stopped playing because we'll get into that. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so you basically you run around and you have to pick the right weapon for the right enemy. There's some switches that you have to have the boomerang to hit, or I'm sure there's various other things that will need to be activated with other weapons later. But yeah, so it's pretty standard 2D platformer on the GBA. You've probably played half a dozen of these before. So what did you think of it in general?
I would describe it as Dancing on Ice, the video game.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He slides around a lot. It is not fun to control the main character. He just slips and slides everywhere. Not as bad as the jump up to other platforms. Most of the platforms you need to jump to are a bit higher than your normal jump. So you've got to kind of like jump up first to hang on to it and then press to kind of like climb up onto the ledge. I think they put that in just to give you an extra button to press because they could have just made the platforms lower. But sometimes it doesn't work. A lot of times it doesn't work. And you're left kind of like fumbling around while getting attacked by enemies, trying to jump up to a ledge, and you don't know why it's not working because like sometimes it won't. But my other first impression of the game is because I played this after the other one we're going to talk about. The music in this is terrible. It's really bad. I mean, I know some of that is going to be down to the Game Boy Advance sound chip,
right?
Not being very good, but yeah, the music is not good in this at all. For a game based on a musical, it is quite painful to listen to.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't even know if I had my sound on when I played this one, but I mean, I've heard poorly scored GBA game, so I can kind of imagine where it would have gone, especially once you get to like, some of those games that have that repetitive loop of music.
You can get good stuff out of the Game Boy Advance
You can.
speaker. I mean, like one of the games that I played a shitload when I was growing up was Wario Land 4. That's got a great soundtrack.
Oh yeah, that one had great sound.
But this one not as much. But yeah, so I had those issues with the platforming in general, which kind of set me off on the wrong foot because this is a platforming game,
Right.
and I didn't like the platforming. It's also technically a Metrovania
Yeah.
because there are other sections that you can't open up until you get certain items and stuff like that. Like you mentioned, the bat boomerang, which is just legally different from a batarang that Warner Brothers won't sue.
Legally distinct.
Yeah, but that will open up new areas and stuff like that. But one thing that kind of annoyed me was the first time I brought up the map. What did that map remind you of?
Oh, I don't even know if I ever brought up the map.
It is the exact design of Symphony of the Night's map.
Oh, really? Oh, that is unfortunate.
And you don't want to remind people of one of the best games ever made
Yeah.
when you bring up your map in a game that is doing a poor version of that.
Yeah.
So I personally did not enjoy this game, but
Oof.
I believe you did, didn't you?
Well, I mean, I didn't. I said, when we first got on the call, I was surprised that they didn't both suck. Because I mean, I'm used to. I've gotten used to kind of how things are now, where movie tie-in games are not good. But then, I have to remember the time we were in. Like I had some of the Star Wars tie-in games on Game Boy Advance, and those were actually pretty good. So this was better than I expected it to be. Although now I'm thinking that might have been because I didn't experience some of the more problematic elements. Like I said, I don't know if I had. I don't remember the music, so I either didn't have my sound on or it made zero impact. Um, and I don't even remember looking at the map. So I might have just missed some of the more egregious things in it. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised because I was really expecting it to just not be great. But it was fine. I mean, I'm probably not going to go back and try to finish it anytime soon, but it was all right.
Yeah, so I ended up getting as far as Finkelstein's lab, which is where you get that bat boomerang. I struggled through that level because there are places where it seems like you have to take damage. There are a lot of like lightning rod things in that level,
Oh
and they're shooting
yeah,
lightning at you constantly at the same time the enemies are coming at you. It took me such a long time to get through that level. So like I got the bat boomerang. At the end of that, went on to the next level, and I just noticed this is pretty much more of the same. It's not going to. I'm like 3, 4 levels in. This isn't going to change at any point. So
and
I just decided to stop.
I will say I noticed early on that this game does that thing where they give you a sign that tells you the direction you need to go, but there's also very clearly a path that doesn't go that way. Um,
Yeah, because there are secrets, like kind of like off the beaten path, but there are also points in the game where you do have to go the other way from the arrow, which
right.
which makes my brain sad.
Yeah, because the consistency becomes a problem. But so I noticed that, and then it was you know I don't remember if it was the main path or one of those side paths where I had to. I think it was a side path. I was going down this tunnel full of those lightning rod things, trying to find the thing that was at the bottom, and I actually took more damage going back up and out than I did going down to get the thing, because it's just so hard to dodge those things.
Mm.
So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I agree, not fun.
There is one more early thing I wanted to bring up actually before I forget. First boss fight. Boss fight is fine. You know, I actually quite enjoyed the boss fight, but there's a save point just before the boss fight.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not another one for a while.
Yeah.
So if you save before the boss, and then do the boss, and then die in the 5 or 10 minutes after before you find another one, you're doing that boss fight again.
Yep.
That sucked.
Yeah, that's not great.
Because I died in that. I mean, thank God for emulator save states, which I wasn't using save states until that point. But then I died, had to go back there, do the boss again. I thought, okay, we're using save states because this is bullshit.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm trying to think how many times I even died. I'm not sure. I think I only died like once or twice. But yeah, I definitely see how that would be a problem. But yeah, that's rough.
I also find Jack's animations are weird. Like when I don't know what's going on when he's climbing ladders, but especially when he jumps up to that platform and like pulls himself up onto the platform.
Oh yeah, it's like he's climbing up and sliding to be horizontal on the platform and then stands up.
Yeah, he kind of looks like he turns into a spider for a minute while he's trying to pull himself up. It looks really weird.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, oh, that's pretty weird. I did like that they had plenty of idle animations for him, although they could have given you like a few more seconds before they kick in. And then I liked Zero's nose glowing if there was something hidden nearby. But I mean, for someone that's gotten so deep into Metroid as I have, the stuff in this game isn't really so much hidden for me. So
yeah, it's one of the collectibles I found was on kind of like an alternate path, and it took a good few minutes to get there. And then you've got this object at the end of this path. Then you've got to spend a few minutes going all the way back.
Yeah,
it's like 6 minutes out of the way to get this collectible, which it should have given you an option when you've got the collectible to just kind of like drop down back into the main bit of the level.
Right. And especially because like the paths for these collectibles, it's not like they're super well hidden. They're just on another path. But like the entrances to those alternate paths are very clearly visible when you see them.
Oh yeah. It is literally just a path that the arrow isn't pointing to.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where like I appreciate the making it a little bit making it easier, but at the same time like there's such a thing as too easy.
Easy to find them, and then getting to it, you just die from like stupid amounts of enemies.
Yeah, I mean it's like I said, it's fine. I wouldn't feel terrible calling this baby's first Metroidvania. If I had like a small cousin that was really into Nightmare Before Christmas, yeah, I might have gotten them this game.
Please don't let this be your baby's first Metroidvania.
Oh no. See, and that's one thing I have sworn is my son is not going to be 30 before he plays a Metroid game. That's just not going to happen. Because I am still angry about that. But yeah, I mean it's, for a game that was meant to cash in on a wildly popular movie, a game that was made 10 years after the original movie came out, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I would obviously rate it less favorably, but I didn't hate it. I just disliked it quite a bit.
Well, and the more actiony platformer games aren't really as much your speed as they are, say, like Ryan, because I know you absolutely despise the Mega Man games that we've made you play.
Oh God, yeah. I hated them.
So it's different tastes. Nothing wrong with it.
But I am glad that the music didn't have vocals in this version, because that means I can come up with my own vocals. Like, this is harrowing, motherfucking harrowing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically it for that one. So we'll take a short break and move on to the other game that we chose.
Okay.
Hole wobber! Hole wobber!
Hail to Mr. Oogie, Jack will never win. When you find our booby traps, they will do you in.
First we brought the master back to take this town away from Jack. We knew he'd fight to set things right, so we got bad guys to attack. Stop!
All right, so our next game is a game I actually had heard of this game before this month, and having now played it, I understand why. This game is Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge, which is actually a sequel to the movie. So we had that fun bit of serendipity playing a prequel and a sequel. But this one was actually I was shocked by how good this game was. This was surprisingly good. I was surprised that I didn't dislike the other one more. I was even more surprised that I actually liked this one.
Yeah. This is definitely a much more enjoyable one than the last one. I believe I described it in our group chat as Devil May Cry the musical,
which is basically spot on.
Yeah, because it is essentially kind of like a maybe not quite as good Devil May Cry, but with a load of really fun music from the film in it. Unlike the GBA one we just talked about, which is just tinny nonsense, this actually has proper music with lyrics and songs.
What I found wild about this one is I had seen you describe it as Devil May Cry the musical, and then proceeded to have exactly the same problem I had with Devil May Cry, where I get to a certain point and I can't figure out how to interact with the thing, so I'm just kind of stuck.
Yeah, it also comes with Devil May Cry's issues. Let's just get out of the way. The camera is horrible.
Yep.
In this game, it's also horrible in Devil May Cry. There are the game doesn't tell you what you need to do a lot of the time.
Yep.
You've kind of got to experiment, and I'm sure if I'd have read the manual, it would have been in there, but I didn't have a manual, so I just went into this blind, and I was confused in quite a few places.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. I got to the second chapter. I died to the first boss a couple of times, but I managed to get through it, get to the second chapter. And then, you talk to the kid and he tells you that, oh, the shop's open. So I go to the shop, can't buy anything. And then I'm just wandering around. I'm like, okay, so what do I do? So I found a place to go where enemies spawn endlessly, and I just kept dying. I'm like, all right, what the hell am I supposed to do? Turns out you're supposed to talk to the kid again, but it doesn't say that. It makes no indication that's what you're supposed to do. So that took me forever to figure out. I had to look up a guide. And then I get to the third chapter and have the exact same problem where I've got, it's like, oh, you need to do this thing. and there's the little arrow for stuff I can interact with, and no indication of how to interact with it. Like nothing does anything.
Let me guess. Was it trying to get up on the tree to get to the hanging man?
That
took me a while.
I never even saw any of the hanging men. Like I saw there were some arrows in the graveyard that I saw, and it was like, oh, presumably there's something to interact with here, but like nothing did anything. You press all the buttons and nothing happens.
Oh, are you talking about like the like coffin shaped things?
Yeah, the ones that are like with the purple mist right next to them.
Yeah, you've got to like hold onto the button to kind of like pull them up. Game doesn't tell you that.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything. But like the gameplay was like once you knew what you were doing, and in the actual combat, obviously it's not as refined as some of the other games on the system, but it was surprisingly good. Like I think I got a B on every chapter I finished because I was getting S's on half the stuff. Like,
yeah, it's very satisfying to kind of like finish off all these enemies. The camera doesn't help, but most of the time when you take a shot, if an enemy is nearby, it will hit them.
Yeah.
It felt the combat did feel quite satisfying. Apart from Soul Rubber,
yeah,
Soul Rubber, which you're going to hear again every single time you do that attack, which is kind of like a grab attack with your weapon. He just says it every single time. It's like, why? That is, I don't want to mute this game because the music is amazing, but shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So I ended up using that skill as little as possible.
Oh, see, that was like the number one thing that I did is the bit where you grab them and just keep pressing triangle to slam them into the ground and the other enemies. Like I would do that until they died or the whip broke. And it was great. But yeah, like the fact that he says that every single time.
But aside from that, the combat is very nice. I actually also like that they kind of like front load a boss fight. Like you have a boss fight within the first few minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty challenging one as well. Like they don't dial the difficulty down for this first boss fight. It's just as challenging as at least the other boss fights that I did in the game. Mm-hmm. But the best thing is the boss fight is like a song. Yeah. You've got Oogie Boogie and Jack Skellington singing at each other. It is a song from the movie, but the lyrics are different. So I don't know if they got Danny Elfman back or if it's some impersonator or the guy who voiced Oogie Boogie. I don't know if that's an impersonator, but they sound pretty spot on because it does have different lyrics to the movie. Yeah, because they're kind of like taunting each other. But it's you've basically got to whack Oogie Boogie and his skeletons a bit until musical notes drop out, and then when you've got enough musical notes, it turns into a rhythm action game. And you get to deal if you get all the button presses right on the rhythm action game, you do like a shitload of damage to him. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I only had to go through that sequence twice, and he dropped. Like and so that's clearly the thing you're supposed to do, but like that's one of the things I really enjoyed is just like that little bit of change up, because like you're basically doing chip damage until that point, and then you just take off like a third of his health in one shot.
Which is good because the rest of the fight the camera is not your friend.
It is not.
Trying to hit his minions.
Like I managed to muddle through a couple of times just by like catching a glimpse of them out of the corner, and I'm like, all right, I know there's one behind the camera, so I'll just whip that direction until I find him.
There are a lot of kind of like minions in that fight, so you are likely to hit one of them if you just hit in like a random direction.
Yeah, I think the main thing that got me in that fight was the dice before I figured out how to break them or dodge them. That was the main thing that got me.
Oh, I couldn't dodge for shit in that game. I got hit by a lot of them.
Well, so like the ones dropping from above, I finally figured out that if you just keep moving, you don't get hit. But that took me some time because I was trying to like break them or counter them or whatever, and it just wasn't working. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, surprisingly good. Like I actually might go back and play this game. And when we started talking about this, I discovered that this is like a super beloved game, apparently. Like people apparently love this game, and I was unaware of this.
Like you, I've kind of like heard it mentioned around. But I haven't really read up on what people think about it, so.
But yeah, so like having played the game, I get it. Devil May Cry was freaking huge in the mid 2000s. So yeah, I get it. I now understand why I've heard of this game and why it's the only Nightmare Before Christmas game I had ever heard of before, because the rest of them probably aren't worth talking about.
How far did you actually get?
I got to chapter 3, looking for the hanging men, and did not find any of them. Like, I was in the graveyard looking around, and I'm like, all right, I'm just beating stuff up and not finding anything.
Yeah, you have to follow where Zero's going.
I never found Zero.
Oh, you've got to like press a button to summon him.
Oh, okay.
See, the game doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
The game doesn't tell you. Because Zero will kind of like go and find the hanging men and then bark, and you've got to follow Zero.
Yep, never found out.
Because there's another really fun boss fight in the in fact there's two in the graveyard, which I really like because it's got my favorite track from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know that na 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 na, that one.
Yeah.
Which plays whenever you're fighting Lock, Shock, or Barrel. And I love that track. And yeah, that plays during that. You do that section, and after that, it's Dr. Finkelstein. Mm-hmm. You go to his place, and Sally's been kidnapped, and you've got to rescue her. And there's this big, was it a spider? It might have been a spider, or no, I don't think it was a spider. I don't remember what it was. I played this like a month ago, but that boss fight's got another song from the movie in it, being sung by Sally. Again, I don't know if it's actually Catherine O'Hara or if they got someone else, but it sounds close anyway. Either way, and after that, there's a section where these big balls come down like this tower, and you've got to dodge the balls, and I couldn't do that. There were a couple points where I just couldn't work out where I needed to go, and that's where I stopped. So that's probably maybe chapter 5, 6, something like that.
Okay.
But I was enjoying up to that point. I was getting frustrated with the soul rubber. But The charm of the music carries it quite far. If it hadn't have been for the music, I probably would have given up earlier.
Right. And especially having such a unique mechanic for the boss fights, that was like, even though I only saw one of them, that was still a really enjoyable thing. So yeah, it's I would say this one is worth checking out. Especially, if someone's a fan of the movie, then definitely check it out, because having the music there is just makes it even better. The other thing I was impressed by was I don't know if this is a universal reference, but the movie voice guy on the title screen, like, I'm sure everyone remembers that in the 90s, movie trailer voice guy, he actually was like reading out the title screen, and I was like, really?
I didn't realize it was him.
I don't know if it's the same guy, but it sounded just like him.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So
I don't remember much of the title screen.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like, it's not like a big thing. Like, they don't, like, draw a lot of attention to it. But I noticed that, and I was like, wait, really? It sounded just like him. And I was like, wow, they, and so maybe they did actually get all those names for that game, because I mean, that would explain, that would explain why it was so good if they were throwing that much money at it.
Yeah, I mean, I did actually look to find the cast for the game, and I know that, which one is it? Shock is played by the person who played Phil and Lil in the Rugrats. Now, in the film, Shock is played by Catherine O'Hara, who also does Sally.
Mm-hmm.
That is why I'm not sure if Catherine O'Hara is doing Sally in this game, because her the other character, her voice is done by someone else.
Right.
So I'm not entirely sure, but like Jack sounds like Danny Elfman when he's singing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's either they, it's either they got the actors to do it uncredited, or they got some really good approximations.
I mean, they may actually be credited, but I couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. It's just, kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel bad recommending this to people. Like, if you're a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, or even, Devil May Cry and other games like it, check it out.
Yeah, it's got better music than Devil May Cry does.
Yeah.
But it is not worth the current asking price on eBay. Don't pay £60 to £70 for this game.
Oh yeah, definitely don't do that.
Just I emulated it for free. It is very easy to do.
Yeah, I recommend checking this out. I don't recommend paying $60 for it.
Like my PC is quite old, and it has no problem playing PS2 emulation. So just do that.
I mean, I do most of my emulation on the Steam Deck, and it's fine.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. It does have its little niggles, but like I said, that charm carries it a long way, and it kind of depends on your patience for those charming aspects, whether or not you'll kind of like be able to ignore a lot of the more egregious stuff.
And I mean, just the fact that there is some good to balance out the negatives is a big help for the game. Like, you're not going into this and it's, it's just infuriating. There's actually some good aspects to it that help to balance that out.
Yeah, and literally, like I said, like right at the start of the game, you're doing a boss fight against Oogie Boogie, and it's Oogie Boogie's song, and it is like straight away, it's giving you like the good stuff.
And that was probably another reason it appealed to me, is because Oogie Boogie is my favorite element of the movie, and his song is my favorite song from the movie. So like having that right off the bat is probably it probably made a good impression on me.
Yeah, it's probably my second favorite song after that one that I mentioned earlier, the Lock, Shock and Barrel song. But yeah, it's a great song.
Definitely check this out if you don't have qualms about emulating. And I guess that's really all we have to say. I guess we could take a break and then come back and finish up.
Okay.
Ho wobber! Ho wobber! Ho wobber! Ho wobber!
So that's what we have for our Halloween Christmas special hybrid. Honestly, it's this year hasn't been too bad. I think we've covered some good stuff this year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We've done. We may not have done as many episodes this year as previous years, but we've had some decent stuff, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and it's it is sometimes harder to get these episodes together when we're all super super busy. Having babies will do that, but we are not going anywhere. We do hope to have more good episodes next year. But until then, I guess for all of us and for the year, goodbye until we see you again.
Yes, goodbye.